No,
That's fine.
okay, so that's something we'll need to do. Just to pre-activate and change that. Let's save all of that.
Hi everyone, I'm LeeAnne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we're here to talk to you today about how you can rock your next prezo and demo. So let's dive in. So it's so important to deliver great presentations and great demos. Rebecca, you do a lot of presentations at Dreamforce, at World Tours, and we meet a lot of our awesome admins in the community that are working on presentations for user groups, for Dreamforce, for community events, and for internal presentations. So we're really excited to be here today and share some of the reasons that both rocking your prezo is important and some concrete tips you can take back today as you are prepping for your next presentation so you can do awesome. As I said, my name is LeeAnne Reimel. You can find me on the Twitters at LeeAndroid. I'm joined by the amazing Rebecca Sarr, also known as Rockstar. You can find her on Twitter at Rebecca Sarr. And we will go ahead and get started. So we're not talking about too much on product today. However, this is a Salesforce presentation, so we always want to share our forward-looking statement and ask that you make all purchasing decisions based on currently available technology. Do you want to go through to connect with us?
Sure. So we'd love for you to connect with us online. You can find us on all the different social media channels. So on Twitter, we're Salesforce Admins No I. And we also are always on the hashtag AwesomeAdmin, so definitely check that out. And you can also find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Salesforce Admins. And of course, definitely come to our website, admin.salesforce.com, to find all the latest and greatest resources and insights for you.
Awesome. So Rebecca, I know you talk a lot about the key components of a successful presentation. You've built a lot of great presentations. So what are those kind of main components of a successful presentation?
Right. So for you to rock your next presentation, you definitely should keep in mind the right framework, effective slides, and a focused demo. And that's what we're going to go over in this presentation today.
Awesome. Well, Rebecca, you can kick us off with covering some of the frameworks that are available to you and how you, as an awesome admin, can pick the right framework for your presentation.
Let's get started. All right, so let's start with building your framework. All right, so the first part of this is thinking about your audience, right? Before you get started in building your presentation, who are you actually presenting to and who do you want to keep in mind when you're building this presentation? It'll look a lot different if you're thinking about presenting to your end users versus executives, right? So once you know that, you can also be thinking of the WIFI, like what is in it for them and how can you make this presentation super relevant for them. Next, frame your presentation. So once you know your audience, you know where to start and how to get started. If you're talking to end users, you may want to kind of start at the beginning and talk about what Salesforce is if you're introducing it brand new. But if you're talking to your fellow admins, you don't need all that explanation, right? You can go straight into it. So kind of understanding who your audience is will help you also frame your presentation in the right way. And lastly, find your focus. So this is one thing I cannot stress enough because a lot of times, especially in technical demos, we want to talk about all of the amazing things and share everything we're so excited about. But you really need to find your focus and pick the one thing that you want your users or your audience members to take away so that you can build a presentation around that and really have an impact and have them walking away with something that they've learned. So those are kind of your first 3 key principles for building your presentation. Next, let's talk about story attributes. So every presentation really is a story that you're telling, and every story has key attributes that make it successful. So first, you want to have a strong title to draw people in, right? Then you want to have a key thesis, which aligns with your main focus of the presentation, right? What is that main thing you're trying to tell your audience and maybe persuade them and have them walk away with? Then you'll have main characters and kind of a logical flow of ideas to help you make that argument. And of course, don't forget to have memorable supporting details. And at the very end, you want to end with a CTA, a call to action. What is the thing you want your audience to do? So this is at a high level, the key ingredients to building a great story and thus a great presentation. And so we wanted to give you an example of how this looks like at Salesforce in a presentation that we have given in the past. So this is one of our keynote presentations, and you can see we have our title. We have a thesis, which is about the fourth industrial revolution. We have main characters, our trailblazers. We have a logical flow of ideas and supporting details. So this is how you can see, in real life, how we've taken kind of all the key story attributes and converted them into a presentation. So now let's talk about how different ways of putting these attributes together. So this is what we call frameworks, and every story can have a different framework. You may have all of the key ingredients, but you can mix and match them in different ways. So one of the ones we use a lot at Salesforce is the pain solution framework. And this is really great for if you're doing a pitch or selling a product and you want to kind of show the pain and then the solution, which is your product. And so in this example, we're starting with the situation that 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 12 months. This is a lot of data, and the complication is that less than 1% has been analyzed. So the question arises, how do we close this data divide? And our solution is Einstein Analytics. So we've kind of discussed this huge pain that we have, and then we're introducing a solution. And at the end, of course, we have a call to action, which is to learn more on Trailhead. Another very common framework that we use is the outline framework. So you'll see this a lot in our webinars, for example, on the admin relations. When we're making webinars, we use this because it's a great way to kind of convey complex information. You want to make it super logical and very clear. You're going to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. So here are a couple examples of what an outline framework would look like. All right, so that's an introduction to kind of building the right framework and thinking about all the content and how you want to bring it together into a presentation. Now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff, which is effective slides and building slides. So first, what I like to start with is considering the medium and the setting. So this is important because it will definitely kind of inform how you build your slides. So here are some key questions that I ask myself when I'm about to build a presentation. So am I presenting on someone else's computer, or am I presenting on mine, right? So because maybe it's easier to use Google or Quip Slides, something that is easy to transfer. Are you presenting on a really large screen with a big focus on the visuals? Are you presenting at a big conference? Try using Keynote. Keynote is amazing, and it does a really good job. That is what we use at Salesforce for all of our big presentations. But are you presenting in a webinar? Because this is a very different story. With a webinar, you want to kind of reduce focus on visuals. You want to reduce animation and really convey as much as you can on the slide with words and graphs and stuff like that, because that's what's going to be successful. If you're presenting internally or need to collaborate, again, Google Slides is very helpful, or Quip Slides, because it becomes a living document that you can change versus a PowerPoint or a Keynote that will be harder to manage. So I just wanted to throw those out before we actually start looking at building slides. But now we can continue. So translate your story into slide titles. This is the first step once you've figured out what your story is and your framework. Now let's translate that story into actual slides, and we do that by focusing on the titles of the slides. So you'll see this is an example of our keynote from last year, from the admin keynote, and when you read just the slide titles, you can kind of follow the story, and that's what you want to have for your presentation. What's on the slide is just supporting the title of the slide. So we set out to make CRM easy for everyone. A new tech hero was born, the Salesforce admin. And awesome admins, they are the original trailblazers. Now let me tell you about the trailblazer economy. So you can see this kind of natural flow just by reading the titles of the slides. We like to make them passive or active, not passive. So that's a couple other tips there, and you can use that website title case converter to ensure that all your titles of the slides are correct. Another best practice we use is blue boxing. So blue boxing ensures that you're focused on the content of the slide versus building all the details and visuals. So in this example, we know we want to kind of depict the customer on the other side of a wall of their customers. And so instead of going straight into building a beautiful slide, we blue box it. We say there should be some kind of gap, and then there should be the company and the customers. And then you do that throughout your presentation so that you have a very clear understanding of what you want each slide to be saying and what the focus of each slide is. And then you go back and you add all the visual elements to make that point come across. All right, so one of my favorite slides is this one, because this is what I like to go in and fix and help improve presentations with. And I think this is one of the things that adds a lot of polish and will make your presentation kind of go the next level. And that's just being very, very detail oriented. So there's lots of places to look, but starting with text, you want to have the same font, right, across your presentation, unless it's a very specific thing and you want to call it out and you're making a clear decision about it. Let's make sure all of the fonts are the same. Also the size, let's have the same size for everything, for all the titles versus all the content, and also the same color. So those are things to check out with text. With images, there's a lot of great things you can do with cropping to shape and adjusting within mask. Google that if you're not sure what that means. That'll again make your presentation look a lot better. And lastly, alignment. So with alignment, you can ensure that everything is distributed equally on your slide, or everything is aligned to the top or the middle or the bottom. So it's a really great tool to make sure you don't have kind of anything mismatched on your slide. And my best pro tip is just to use Paintbrush, because that'll ensure that you're using the same consistent fonts and colors throughout your presentation. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick demo, and we're going to look at this slide, Sunshine Chocolate's operations this year. So this slide has a lot of information, great information, but it's really busy, and I think we can make this a lot cleaner to help make the point, right? We always want to focus on one point and help our audience understand what's going on. So I'm going to escape this, and I'm going to make a copy. And now let's improve this slide. So quickly we can read that. I think this is a positive slide because we're seeing celebration, and we're seeing that, you know, the Sunshine Chocolate's operations this year looks like we've sold a lot more this year than last year. So overall, I'm thinking this is a very positive year, but it doesn't come across in the slide. So first, I'm just going to delete this picture because it's really distracting me and too busy. Next, let's decide what the actual point of the slide is. To me, the point is that Sunshine Chocolate sales have gone up, and that's what we want to say. So we're going to go straight to the point of the slide, and then the rest of it is going to help us make that point. So a lot of this text right here doesn't seem very relevant, so I think we could actually just have this be in the talk track, and we can just delete it from here because it's not that helpful. Secondly, there's a lot of great data on this slide, but I think, again, we want to focus on what's going to help us make that point that sales increased in FY21, and I don't think it is this pie chart. So I'm going to delete the pie chart. Now we have just our graph right here of sales, and we have this data right here. And what we can do here again, just to help clean up this slide and the copy on here, let's say FY21 sales instead of this. So we have 20% growth. I'm going to go like that. And then instead of just saying gummy bear sales needs work, we can say FY21 focus gummy bear sales. Let's make this more positive, right? Okay, and then let's change the font to Salesforce Sans because that is our company font. We gotta make sure we have everything aligned, right? And we like to use kind of a dark gray, not a black. The other thing I see right here is this template. It's not the greatest. I actually can make this template. I can pick a much nicer background that my company has provided for me. And that is another key best practice, is just use the templates that your company provides, because that means some designer has, spent a lot of time making a beautiful slide template for you. Now the last thing I want to do is align. So I'm going to go to arrange, align or distribute, and then I'm going to align to top, ensuring that everything is aligned, the image and the copy. So now the slide is a lot more cleaned up, right? And we can get straight to the point. If someone is reading this slide, they know Sunshine Chocolate sales have increased in FY20, and here's the information that proves that point. And with that, we can summarize very quickly some key best practices for your slides. So fix the titles. If you have different title cases in your slides, go through and make them all the same. Unify the text treatment, everything be the same font sizes and colors. Align your shapes where you can, and resize and crop photos if needed. All right, so with that, we can move on to a focus demo.
Awesome.
LeeAnne.
Thanks, Rebecca. Those are such helpful tips. Sometimes, especially if you're someone who does technical presentations, demos or slides can be a little bit overwhelming. And so those tips that Rebecca just went through are super helpful. I go through them and remember Rebecca's tips every time I have to do my slides. So I hope everyone was taking notes. So next, let's talk about our focus demos. When we're doing a technical presentation, this might be a project that we built internally and we want to get executive sponsorship, executive buy-in. We might be doing an internal training for some of our end users. It may be sharing something that we built with one of our communities, like a user group, community group, Dreamforce event. So really there's a lot of different scenarios in which, and actually it might be a job interview. So that's definitely for Salesforce technical professionals, especially for roles in consulting and solutions architecture. Often you may be asked to share a technical demo as part of your interview process. And the purpose here is generally to show that you can articulate the value of something you've built or something you're working with. And so it's really important to kind of practice and hone that skill so that you can articulate all of your technical acumen and your technical skills and the projects you've built to those around you. So I've been doing demos for a really long time. It's one of my favorite kind of things to do here at Salesforce and with our Salesforce tools. And over the years, I've come up with this kind of demo formula. It's something that we started working on when I was a sales engineer, and it was really important to help define what we were going to show to a customer. So the formula is pretty simple, but you should always use it. And it starts with a business need. So whether it's a kind of one-to-one customer presentation, whether it's a job interview where maybe they give you a case study, or you're presenting to a wider audience, thinking and critically evaluating what is that business need. So in this example, it's sales user adoption. So that's the business need. That's if there's a C-level or a business user or a decision maker in the room who maybe isn't interested in like the back-end development work that you've done, but they are interested in that business need, that is the business need. So we've got sales user adoption as our example. Then we take that business need and we figure out what are the features we're going to tie to that business need. So it might be core features, it might be things that you've built, but what are those kind of technical bullet point feature items that are tied to that business need that you think are going to help solve that business need? So in this example, for sales user adoption, that would be mobile opportunity workspace and sales analytics. And again, these are core features, but this might be something that you built. So if you built like a custom forecasting engine and the business need is lack of visibility into forecast, that would be the feature that you'd be sharing. And then articulating the impact of that. So in sales user adoption, we're saying the business need here, that pain here is that lack of sales user adoption. Here's the features that we've highlighted that are going to help solve that, like mobile, opportunity workspace, sales analytics. And the impact to the business is that you'll be able to update deals, you'll be able to close more business. Now, this formula can occur many times throughout a technical demo. It might be, maybe there's 4 different business needs that you're serving solutions for in a demo. However, a very important rule is that you should never be showing anything in any technical demo that does not fall into this formula category. So what that means is if you are showing a feature, if you're showing a screen, if you're showing something that you built, and you cannot articulate what is the need of this audience for this feature and what's the impact of this feature on this audience, then you shouldn't be showing it. It's sort of like, imagine if you're purchasing a car and you go to a car dealership and you say, hey, here's the things I need. I need all-wheel drive because it snows where I live. I need Bluetooth because I like to listen to podcasts, and I need remote start. And that's it. Maybe there's nothing, like that's the only things you care about. If the car dealership starts telling you all these other features, all these other things like about the engine or about the trunk storage or things that you just didn't ask about, you're not interested in, they don't meet your needs, you're going to start to tune that information out really quickly. So it's the same with technical demos. We want to make sure we're giving people information that they have a need for, that they're interested in, and that serves a purpose for them. So when we're building our demo or delivering our demo, there's some key components to how we deliver the demo. First, we want to make sure we're engaging our audience. It's important to set expectations, to let people know, hey, today I'm going to show you A, B, and C solutions that we talked about, or maybe, today I'm going to show you some solutions for sales adoption that we discussed earlier. And as you go through, depending on the audience size, depending on the type of room that you're presenting in, confirming understanding whenever possible. Even if it's a big room, like look around and try to engage with people, see if they're smiling and nodding back. Confirm understanding. If it's a smaller meeting, if it's like a stakeholder meeting or an interview, ask along the way if there's any questions, if everyone understands what you're presenting. And think of yourself for a technical demo as sort of the tour guide. So as you're going through a technical demo, it's important to use your voice and to use your inflection and to use your words to help people digest the information on the screen. Because often there can be a lot on the screen, there can be a lot going on. And it's important to say, hey, take a look at the upper left-hand corner. That's how we can access the app launcher. When we click into it, then we're able to access more tiles for different apps. Because otherwise there's a lot of text on the screen, and so you kind of have to direct people's eyes. I like to think of this, if you've ever done like the ride the tour or ride the bus, double-decker bus tours, and you're sitting on the top of the bus, and you might be in a city where there's tons of tall buildings everywhere, a lot of scenery, a lot of things happening, and that tour bus guide is telling you, okay, take a look at your right, there's a tall building on your right with oval windows, and then they'll start telling you why that's important. So it's sort of the same in a technical demo. Be the tour guide. You also want to execute on your demo plan. Always slow down. I'm definitely an offender of talking too fast, and when we're clicking too fast or going through screens too fast, your audience can lose you really quickly. So always slow down. Try to take a pause. Take your hand off the mouse, right? Like if you get to a screen that you're going to explain, take a moment, let them pause on that screen and digest it and start to understand what's happening on the screen. Mouse carefully. We should never be circling with our mouse in a demo. It's really tempting to do. Everyone wants to do it. I want to do it all the time. Don't do it. And the good way to prevent yourself from circling with your mouse is to go to the screen you intend to go to. Maybe zoom on the area that you want to highlight, and then take your hand off of your trackpad or your mouse and let the audience digest, because it's really distracting to have cursors like flying around the screen. Also, try to expect the unexpected. This is sometimes easier said than done. However, I find that the level of preparation you have for a presentation is directly related to the likelihood of something going wrong in that presentation. So definitely getting screenshots of your presentation, screenshots of your important demo screens. That's like a great kind of bare minimum presentation prep. So if you have a presentation that you're preparing like for a session, something like that, maybe if you don't have the bandwidth to do a recording, just grab some screenshots and throw them into a slide deck so you just have that as a backup so you can go through and explain different screens if necessary. If possible, try to spin up backup orgs. So if you're presenting in like a DE environment or in a sandbox, like try to create a backup of that so you have other orgs in case you break your demo. And also talk through it. So often people don't know that something broke in your demo unless you tell them something broke. So if it's not like a fatal error, if it's not like your entire demo falling over, if it's just something minor like 2 out of 3 of the process builder actions fired, if it's not something that really derails the story, you can often just talk through it. So it's a little bit of an insider trick for when we do like our big stage demos. Sometimes there's things that go wrong because we do all live demos here at Salesforce, and sometimes there's things go wrong and we don't call attention to it on the stage. We don't say, oh no, like my process didn't work, or oh no, this didn't work. We just try to talk through it and make sure that we're still articulating the value and articulating the impact of that to you as the audience. So try to talk through it, try to not draw attention to it unless you absolutely have to. So there's also some key best practices, and these are things we do a lot of big stage demos, we do a lot of session demos, and there's some best practices for any type of demo that you're going to do, whether you're demoing internally to users or you're demoing to a job interview panel. The number one rule I would say is do not demo in production. It doesn't matter if you're demoing to your colleagues and this is people who all have access to that data. Even if they have access to the data, it can still be sensitive data sometimes. So for example, if you're doing a sales adoption training, right, and you're demoing in production and you're showing live sales data, live sales dashboards, there's people's names on that dashboard that are in the room, and sometimes it can derail the conversation. It can make that turn into kind of a sales meeting. So sometimes the reason to not demo in production is just to keep everything on track. So whenever possible, demo in either a developer environment or a scratch org or in a sandbox. And if you demo in a sandbox, try to go through and anonymize the data as much as you can. So change the names a little bit, or make sure that it's just kind of fun, positive data that's not going to derail the conversation. Definitely, if you're demoing outside of your company, don't demo in a sandbox generally. Never demo in production. It's a great best practice to just get a developer environment to demo in. And like I mentioned, hide sensitive data. So obviously be very sensitive to what is considered protected or classified data for your organization, but also be considerate and think about the people in the room. What's going to be that data that may be negative data or data that would derail the conversation? You don't necessarily want to go into a stakeholder meeting with a dashboard that's not necessarily reflecting goals attainment as everyone would like it to be, right? So think about that so you can keep everyone kind of in the right headspace and get them in state to really process the information you're sharing. Everything that you can preload. So bookmark all of the pages you're going to go to. Set up a Chrome people user. So in Chrome, you can set up a new person. Set that up for your demo so that you can just bookmark all of your various tabs you're going to go to. You can save your login there if it's a DE org with no sensitive data. Save any file paths, everything that you can preload, because it's really hard to type in your password when you're projecting your screen or when you're in front of people, even if you know your password really well. It just is more difficult to kind of navigate to these screens and things like that, and you want to decrease these areas of distraction. And before you demo, always restart your computer. Rebecca can tell you, I'm always telling my team, restart your machine every single day, but definitely restart your machine before you demo. Turn off all of your notifications, turn on Do Not Disturb. So whatever type of machine you're running, just turn off every notification you can, turn on Do Not Disturb if that's an option. Quit all non-essential apps. So sometimes there's like maybe backup apps, things like that that are running in the background. Everything that you can, turn off. This is partly to make sure that you are not kind of using available space on your machine, but also it'll just decrease the likelihood that you're accidentally going to toggle to like the wrong app or toggle to the wrong place. So quit all non-essential apps and clean up your desktop. It's really distracting. One of the key components of demoing is, as you're building a technical demo, you want to make sure that you're creating a demo and creating an experience that people are really going to be able to digest what you're sharing with them. So clean up your desktop. Even if you're not like really organizing your desktop, you can just have like a folder in My Documents that just says, mine's called Clean Your Room. But every so often I just have to drag things on my desktop, drop them in to clean my room. So there's nothing on my desktop. I don't have like a distracting photo. I mean, I love photos of my dog on my desktop. However, for presentations, I try to change it to something not distracting because I want people to be engaged with the technical demo, not thinking about what kind of dog I have. And also, as I mentioned, set up your browser. So as much as you can set up a new Chrome people so you don't have like other extensions running or other logins running, and also set up your bookmarks bar. All these prep things can help be part of that expect the unexpected and kind of prepare for the worst scenes and demos and help you be really smooth on your demo. So I will show you an example of what not to do and then how I prep for my demos. So I'm here in my demo, and it looks like I've got other screens up on the screen. I've got other files. That's really distracting. So I would go ahead and I would start to quit out of these. So I've got different Finder windows. I can see I've got my tons of stuff on my desktop. I'm going to go ahead and drag those away. And I've got this really distracting pizza browser that's like not the right size. These are things that you would not want to do. It's the wrong size. You can't really see all the information. And let's imagine that we're trying to show you something. I go into my not at all customized org and drop into my sales app. It's hard to see because it's not the right page size. And I don't have any data under events. I don't have any data under tasks or assistant. And it's not really giving me a lot of kind of intuitive information about what I'm supposed to be taking away from these pages. I'm going to show you, say, an opportunity, and there's not really a ton of information here. So it's hard to know what I would have in this activity area or what should be in the chatter area. Now, this is an example of what not to do. However, if we dive into a more positive example, I'm here in full screen. I'm in another app that's been customized. I'm in full screen in Chrome, and also I have zoomed to about 110%. That's a great setting for Chrome, kind of in general. I'm on my home page here, and on my home page, even before I start explaining this Salesforce homepage to you, it's very intuitive how I would work with this page because I have my chatter feed on the right that has actual updates. On my tasks and events area, I have actual dummy data here that's telling me, okay, there's events, that would be where my calendar is, there's tasks, here's some to-do items. So the more that you can like add data and prepare people to digest the information on the page, it'll help people, really engage with your demo. And if we go into, say, a record page for Express Airlines Dessert Edition, I can see I've got data here, I've got notes in the notes area, I've got files attached. So again, on the right panel, because I have data there, because I've preloaded that dummy data, it's easier for you as a viewer to understand, here's how I would be engaging with this page. And in the center of the page here, as you scroll down, you can see my upcoming and overdue events. I can see my tasks, my events, all in the activity timeline. So it becomes very intuitive for how I would use this page. So the experience on this page is very different than the experience on, say, this page, right? Where I'm not zoomed in, I'm not in full screen, I've got a distracting pizza browser. All of these things are kind of taking you away from paying attention to the demo. So that is just our high level on how you can create your successful presentation. We're super excited to hear about all the great presentations that you go out and do, and we hope that this encourages you if there's maybe great things that you've built at your organization, like if you're building an awesome project management app or if you're building new customizations, like take the leap and share that with your users, share that with your stakeholders, because you and our community are doing all this awesome technical work, and doing presentations to accompany that work is a wonderful way to get visibility for that, to get more user adoption, to really amplify all of the awesome things that our awesome admins are doing.
And who knows, maybe you'll be presenting at the next community group, user group meeting, or at Dreamforce one day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just jump up and present at your user groups. That's a wonderful way to get a really supportive environment, and it's a great way to get really good feedback and get more kind of practice with presenting, because it's really important for, I think, everyone's career who works in technology is to be able to showcase your work and showcase the things that you're doing. And practice makes perfect. So it's always important to practice. It's important to practice for real, like you are presenting. So, try to remove distractions, try to go through and actually click through your whole demo, make sure you have your screen set up, actually click through all of your slides.
We always do full rehearsals.
Full rehearsals all the time,
presentation we do.
We have one of our colleagues who always says, practice like it's real, and then when it's real, you'll do it just like you practiced. Yeah. And it's really true. So the more that you can practice, the more comfortable you'll be, and also you'll uncover any possible maybe issues with your slides or demos, like we all do.
Places where you stumble.
You can just smooth those over. We have a trail mix with this content, as well as a ton of other great content to help you get started with rocking your Prezo. You can find that at the bit.ly on the screen. It's bit.ly rock my Prezo trail mix, and where it's underlined, it's a capital, so it is case sensitive, so make sure to capitalize the title letter of each of those words. And let us know when you're signing up to do presentations, whether that's a presentation for your peers about a new feature you learned, whether it's a presentation for your users about something that you want them to be taking advantage of. It's a stakeholder presentation, a job interview, a user group, wherever you're presenting, we encourage you to go present and to share with us with #RockMyPrezo. If you have any questions, if you want to jump in, make sure to go to the admin webinar group, and that's where you can ask questions. You can talk to us on the Trailblazer community. So that's at admin webinar group. And with that, I think we're done.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.